What's up, guys? Rift Insight Season 1, Episode 4. There was a lot to go over with the LCS and the LEC this week because the LEC had obviously returned back after taking a break. We're going to talk about them later on during the stream. And if you guys are watching the stream after it goes live, then just like the video because it just helps out, the channel grow and it gets more recommended to a lot of people. So just basic YouTube stuff for all my VOD watchers, because I know I have a lot of people who like to watch the VODs. So yeah, how are you doing, sir? He's just like, he's like, what do you mean? I have to be a host?
Have you not generic YouTuber is what I'm saying.
What the heck? What the heck? I mean, I have to be a host. That's just what I do.
I bet.
So, certain things happened this week for a lot of things in terms of League. I think a lot of people, had high expectations for like certain teams, but a lot of them didn't pan out. Like Dig last week, I remember they went 2-0, and they actually started out, with the win this week too. And it was just that Golden Guardians game that really messed them up. So that's what sucks about it, is that, them with that, ninth loss already puts them in a weird position of where they could or could not make playoffs. Because what is the cutoff? Obviously, with 10 losses, you probably may or may not get in based off how other teams pan out as well. So we'll just have to see.
Cutoff. I mean, the real thing that you could say is if you go 18-0, you're most likely going to make it into playoffs. That's there's only a few guarantees inside of that, because we've seen people go into the playoffs negative. We've seen them go. Some people not make the playoff. Well, actually, I don't think we've seen that recently. But
no, the only team was Optic, right? They went 9-9 and didn't make playoffs.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There's been 50% win rate players that haven't went positive. It's not an impossibility. There's no really guarantee just based off amount of wins. And based off what it's looking like right now, I think just based off the fact that it goes all the way down to 8th place now, there's not too many bad situations where you could say, man, the season's lost, because I think it's going to come down to the last game of the season where we see whether or not somebody makes the playoffs or not, because it's just how close everybody is towards the bottom right now.
So, for all of you guys watching this week who are not up to date with all the news, Huni and Golden Glue played for Evil Geniuses. We also had Biofrost getting subbed out for Treats, and other changes in the other bottom tier rosters, which didn't make any sense. I didn't really like the way they played Viper over Lorlo when they literally got wins with Lorlo. So is there a reason to play Viper? Unless Viper was just drastically performing well in scrims, I don't see a reason to play the guy that you got no wins with versus the guy you got wins with. If he's giving you the wins and he's being consistent, and he wasn't even bad either. Wasn't bad at all. And they got wins with him. They were basically out of playoffs hunt without Lorlo getting them wins with Dardoch and Phoenix. And they take him out for Viper, who looked like trash all the weeks before. Just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The thing about
it, obviously, is the fact that Viper, obviously, he really does have more talent. He has a higher ceiling, and that's what they're trying to bank off of. They really don't want to give up on it completely, because if they give up on that, they're stuck with Lorlo, who's a proven kind of lower middle tier top laner, and they don't want to have to settle for that. But I see the reasons as to why they're not 100% going down the path of just giving up and going with Lorlo, because I mean, who wants to settle for Lorlo? But at the same time, I don't think it's the correct call. I think they need to find their situation where they find their groove and stuff before they start doing anything like that, because if they don't start getting together as a team, if they don't start actually having a solid foundation for how the game is going to be played out by the rest of the team, they can't implement or kind of bring in a new player to the situation.
Yeah,
I'm you can't just bring in Viper with a plan in mind that doesn't really work with somebody who's been playing a different way throughout the entirety of the rest of the season. It doesn't work that way. That's just not how.
I mean, Viper and Lorlo just sounds like a combination that doesn't really have a lot of upsides. I mean, Viper could have upsides. Doesn't really matter though. He didn't show that in the past 5 weeks that he was playing, even in Academy, I'm counting those two, and you got Lorlo in where him, Dardoch, and Phoenix got them wins to even be in the playoff hunt. Like they were not in the playoff hunt at all without these guys. And I just think that they did Lorlo pretty bad by just taking him out. And like they just kind of used him to get some easy wins. Because to be fair, they need easy wins. You don't need complicated wins where you're just trying to pick out the most complicated drafts. All you need is you just have to get wins on the board, play the easiest compositions. Their compositions this week looked pretty weird.
I mean, I will point out like the choice between we've seen success on Dardoch throughout the entirety of the season playing early game aggressive junglers, and they pick him Trundle, which was kind of crazy to me. Like
he's gotten Grace most of the time too, though.
It seems like there's something going on behind the scenes because it was just so against Dardoch's nature. I've never seen him not gank for such a long amount of time. Like usually he's diving and dying in the bot lane by this point in time by at least 20 minutes. They haven't got something done, but he kind of just sat there, and they didn't seem like they even tried to win. Like they just sat there and let the game end. Like it was. There's something going on. It has to be something behind the scenes because that was just crazy to me. Like,
this is what I've always told people is that if you're playing like that, then it means that they either thought that this composition that they played or drafted for, they knew it wasn't going to be super effective. Or they thought that they couldn't win with anything they were given with. Or there was a disagreement with the coaches about what they wanted to pick, or they just didn't have any faith in each other to actually pull off the draft the way it was supposed to be pulled off. Because, hold on, one second. I'm going to pull up their draft in just a moment, just kind of advertising the stream as I normally do. And I really want you guys to get in the mindset of why a certain team would do these things. Like, I don't understand switching up the roster and you already got wins. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, I understand Viper has a higher potential, but they didn't get wins with Viper. Like, doesn't make any sense.
I get why they did it still. I don't think it was the correct call, but there is some logic behind it. You can't deny that there is some thought process behind it. They don't want to, because if they commit an entire season to Lorlo, nothing is gained. But at the very least, if Viper picks it up by the end of the season, you get a net positive, like a gain, like for the rest of his career. Like
but that's something you do in playoffs, though.
That's the exact opposite of the time you do it. You do that in this regular season, hope he bounces back. If you do it in the playoffs, you're done for. Like that's the end of the season for you. I think what they wanted to do, honestly, their plan was pretty obvious. But the thing about what I think happened is the coaching staff sat them down and said, "Hey guys, we're playing hyper aggressive early game, and we're getting stuff done. I mean, we're attempting to get stuff done, but we're dying too often in the early game. I need Dardoch to slow it down." So Dardoch literally did nothing. He didn't contest anything till the first dragon came up the first dragon that was contested at 21 minutes. Like literally, like nothing. What's going on? Yeah, people. But
no, it's fine. It's fine. If they start yelling out loud, I can just mute my mic, and I can still hear, and they can still hear you too. They just won't hear that.
Okay, that's fine. So my big thing about it is, I think the problem I had with it is the fact that they sat them down and said we need to play less aggressive in the early game because we're not consistently getting kills, and Dardoch doesn't know how to play that way. They put in Viper because he does actually play that way somewhat, and then kind of Phoenix didn't get his Azir, so he's useless now. Now the bunch of the players on the team in a position
first banned Azir. Banned Azir.
They're in a position where they're uncomfortable with the situation they're in. I get the reasoning behind it.
So let's see what they actually drafted. So Dignitas in their 20-minute first team fight, first blood game that they just have right here, you can clearly see their composition. Golden Guardians drafted Olaf, Ezreal, Galio, Yumi, Kennen. They banned Azir, Graves, Karma, Riven, Thresh. Dignitas picked Zoe, Wukong, Kog'Maw, Trundle, and Lulu. I like the Lulu pick is good. I like the Lulu pick, but it doesn't do anything in that composition unless their team scales towards late game. And Dig banned Malphite, Camille, Ashe, Volibear, and TF. So
it was an extremely late game scaling comp. That was their plan. Like I'm saying, obviously their plan was I really do feel like they sat them down and said, hey, we're going to play less aggressive in the early game and try and scale into the late game and see if we can try and add this into our repertoire, because obviously early game has been working out inconsistently, so we want to see if we could do it. And again, Dardoch not doing anything early game makes him terrible because he's not the best late game scaling jungler. That's just not his play style. He's not good at it. I don't think he's good in terms of team fights most of the time. Like putting a Kog'Maw Lulu on the team, that essentially was their game plan. They wanted to get to the late game, then they'd have a front line of Trundle and Wukong. Wukong has a bunch of knockups, and Trundle can steal away all the resistances from either one of the carries, and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it.
They banned Riven. Obviously, you banned Riven against Viper. He looked pretty good in the CLG game he got Riven, but they realized that if you give Riven to Viper, it's pretty much a free win for the team, so you can't give them that. I don't understand, why they banned away something that could have helped them. Like, you're banning away the Malphite, for what reason? Viper could have had more of an impact on Malphite than he did with what he got, which was, Wukong? He got Wukong, didn't he? He got Wukong and essentially did nothing for Viper. Like, what is that? Like, what is this? What am I looking at? 21 minutes, they did nothing. I get with the Kog'Maw composition, you scale up, but this was just nothing. There was nothing going on in this game at all whatsoever.
I'm telling you that they don't know how to play this kind of style. It's unfamiliar to them. This is the kind of comp that you would see. It's not a bad comp. Like, actually, I want to point out there's not anything significantly wrong with Dignitas's comp in general, but it's a generalized comp. It would be good on Dragon X. This is a comp I could see them pulling off. It's not something I could see Dignitas, who has a pretty solid bot lane. Again, it works because they have a bot lane. I don't think the ADC jungle, what's it called? Support duo is bad, but I do prefer Aphromoo on a support like with Engage, because I think he's been the best consistent Engage on that team. But again, there's nothing specifically wrong with the comp to the point where I think, wow, this is the reason they lost. But I do think, like, just in general, like, just the comp itself isn't bad. It's the comp with Dignitas. Like, you don't put Dardoch on a hyper more like late game scaling jungler who is pretty okay in the early game. You want to put him on a more of aggressive jungler. I don't think he's good at these types of things. And even he could probably play a Trundle, but I feel like, again, there was something wrong with this game. There's something they talked about preemptively in this game, because there was just a mindset of, hey, don't gank and try and scale. And I know for a fact, just based off the way they played, that is something the coaching staff told them to do.
This is the polar opposite of how they got their wins, though. This is a polar opposite. I don't know where that came from, because in their other wins, they weren't great. They weren't anything spectacular. But
yeah, I agree. There's nothing specifically great about Dignitas' playstyle. They are a hyper-aggressive early-game team that wants to get ahead, and if they can get ahead, they kind of know how to close the game out. Not really, but they're okay at it.
But then you have this game where this game was just bad. Like, this is all bad. I don't, like, showing you guys this is, killing my eyes, essentially. Look at this Riven gameplay that they actually had. So there was this game against CLG versus Dig, and this game is terrible. This game was bad. Like, bad in the sense of, like, I'm not just saying that just because it's LCS. This game was just actually pitifully atrocious. Like, I don't even know the goal of what both teams were doing, let alone what they were attempting to do at all. So you have Dig taking Riven, Set, Orianna, Bard, and Ashe. They banned the Yuumi, Malphite, Syndra, Volibear, TF. You ban Syndra if you're on a certain side, because giving her away is just a power pick. You can't do that. CLG takes Graves, Zoe, Ezreal, Orin, and Nautilus. Nautilus is basically the best support in the game. People have been throwing Braum in there. You have LeBlanc, Azir, Karma, Thresh, and Kennen banned. And during this game, I don't even think Viper even had that big of an impact. And it's to the point where, like, do you just... Like, I don't think Viper made a big enough impact to switch out Lorlo. That's, like, the point of I'm trying to, like, get to people, is that they made an unnecessary change that didn't really amount to anything. And they just took away the synergy of what was working just to either keep his hopes alive that he's going to keep starting. I don't really know, But, yeah, CLG definitely looked pretty bad, all things considered. They look atrocious. But Dig, oh my... Why did he re-engage that? Hold on. Why did they think they could win that? That's not winnable. There's no way that's winnable right there. They literally just re-engaged that for no reason whatsoever. Johnson's running away. Run away, please. Why? Is Dart thinking to himself, holy crap, I can actually beat a almost full mana Graves and a full health and mounted Ezreal? Right here. Did you not see that? Right here.
Paying attention to you, sorry.
Right here. They're having a team fight right here. Look where Dardoch is right there, and they just, what is that? That looks like, what the,
he was trying to be like
suicide himself.
Well, he wanted to keep the Johnson alive. His goal was to flash in there because honestly, if he got proper seed down right there, they could have bursted him, and then with the Triumph sacks, they could have turned on the second guy. That was their plan. It was implemented improperly. Again, also they just didn't kill him fast enough. Like that was their plan at the very least. I mean, there's been it's a good mindset to have as a jungler to be willing to sacrifice yourself for the carries.
So, past Dignitas, like I said before, I wanted to see more out of them. I didn't really get more. I got more, okay, Dardoch is moving them in the early game. That's all I pretty much got.
I mean, that's all they really needed. I mean, they're still a pretty terrible team, but at the very least, like, with Froggen on this team, I think Froggen and Lorlo back on this team, I think they could be a pretty solid team because their early game aggression has been fixed. They were pretty non-existent in the early game. Now with an early-ish game jungler, I do think they think they're going to be in a little bit of shape. I would like to see a better mid laner. Again, I think that if he's not on Azir, he's terrible. And I think that Viper's choice of not playing, like when they had the choice to play Riven today. They wanted to see if he could play anything else. He played Riven the first game. He succeeded. They said, we could play Riven again if we wanted to, but they wanted to see what he was capable of because, again, a solo, a one-trick player on the team is not going to be successful for them. Like, it's just not going to work out.
A one-trick player can get you some wins, but it's not consistent enough.
Wins because if they can ban it too easily, and then there's no reason not to ban it.
I mean, but it's not ideal to just blind ban Riven. Like, you just don't want to do that.
I would. I mean, against them specifically when they're playing Viper, I would do it every time.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it for Dig. They didn't show me anything. All I got was that Johnson and Afmaru still pretty solid bot lane. It's so crazy that Afmaru and Johnson are still a solid bot lane, and then you have Dardoch trying to do something for them, and then you just have Viper and Phoenix who are just... I mean, it's not really Viper's fault that he got thrown into the deep end after he just had some pretty terrible games during the first part of the split. The 2020 summer split, but you had Lorlo coming in, but Lorlo was consistent for them. I don't know why they just sacrificed consistency for more hard carry potential. That's why I said it's better to leave that for playoffs to switch up the roster because you're already secured in playoffs. Why are you switching up things right now when you need to get all the ones you can?
Up in playoffs at that point.
You're already in playoffs. You're already in playoffs at that point. You want to secure yourself in playoffs to begin with. They're not in playoffs.
I disagree. I mean, I think once you're in playoffs, you can't start swapping things up drastically, or you're going to be in a point where you are giving up free wins because you're not comfortable on the picture. Like anything, if you're consistently changing everything up in the playoffs, you're pretty much and with something you're not consistent, like or at the very least comfortable with, you're not going to be able to win. You can't. You don't have that versatility at that point. They want to do it in the regular season, see if they can bounce back because again, they have a lot of time. They have the ability to come back in this season. Like they're not. Like let me see.
They have 6 games left because there's 3 weeks left. We're on week 6, so that means you have week 7, 8, and 9. So that means you have 6 games left.
Yeah, they're a game out of playoffs right now, and that
is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
The only reason they're out of playoffs right now is because 100 Thieves beat Cloud9,
and that might just secure 100 Thieves getting into playoffs by having that clutch Cloud9 victory as well as EG. But as we look toward the other teams this week, let's take a moment to talk about our favorite team of all time, because they're always in some sort of drama, TSM. So TSM this week decided they're going to sub out Biofrost for probably the best academy support that we've seen in a very long time outside of Vulcan. They put in Treats. So what did you think about Treats?
I don't think he was as good as Vulcan looked in the academy, actually. Like, I think Vulcan actually looked... But again, it's only the first game. They can afford to keep consistently practicing him because with the way that Biofrost was playing this split, there's absolutely no reason you shouldn't try other things out. I still think they're guaranteed a playoff spot at this point. They're not going to shoot down to, 4th place. So, if they got second last place, even if they did that, I mean, they have to play Team Liquid. That's not the biggest deal. Anybody but Cloud9 is going to be a pretty, easy situation for them in a best of 5, I think. So, I think as it stands right now, they should be practicing some more stuff. I think that's the best option for them. I think getting into
they lost to FlyQuest. They lost to FlyQuest really bad. They lost so badly to FlyQuest. That was embarrassing. I have never seen FlyQuest play that fast, and I've never seen TSM lose that embarrassing. That's just bad. Like Spica dies.
He just died in their jungle too many times. That's just
he died in the jungle way too many times. He had no buffs. He just that's basically GG no re at that point.
I hate Spica. Like Spica is making this team inconsistent because he's just not relevant in the early game ever. He is one of the worst junglers. He's making such a negligible impact on the team. He's getting out jungled by everybody. Like literally every single team that they face is out jungled.
How do you get out jungled by Wiggly? That's horrible.
It's just idiotic to me that Spica was able to get this spot when obviously he never had the talent to be able to be a starter. Like
he might be too young so far in his career to have the spot.
There's no talent. There's no talent inside of him. I don't see it. I never saw.
You don't think it's that classic TSM kills the jungler?
He doesn't show anything. At the very least, with Santorin and all them, they had premature, like they had these personalities beforehand, and it looked like they were playing, at the very least, trying to do stuff, but the team either wouldn't play around them or they were forced to give up resources to their mid laner. He just doesn't do anything. Dardoch went in there. He got a lot of early game pressure going, but he died a lot in the mid game, and that seemed like a major problem. But I'd prefer that to what's going on now. Like, there's nothing happening with Spica. I don't know what what TSM's problem is. I don't know why they consistently try and improve multiple things at once when they should be going piece by piece. Like they should have getting double it on the team was not a terrible idea. I think that improved their early game aggression in laning specifically. Like, but then they replaced their most important piece in that and brought in Spica, who's a passive early game, and now they just have to rely on laning phase, which is not good for them anymore because Broken Blade is trash right now. Like there's nothing they can do.
Broken Blade is playing really badly. Spica against FlyQuest just kept dying. Oh my lord. After they botched that early game invade he was attempting to do, he was chopped liver. He couldn't do anything. He was non-existent. Broken Blade has been playing really bad. I mean, if we did ever rank top laners, he's definitely near the bottom. He's probably what, 7th, maybe 6th?
So let's think about top laners that are better than him right now. It's obviously Licorice. I think some days,
yeah. Sadly, he's not been playing that great either.
He's not been playing great, but he's still definitely towards the top. There
was Kumo, who was playing better than him.
Playing okay. I mean, it's not much better than Broken Blade, if better at all. Huni's surprisingly playing better than him, in my opinion.
Is that from just these 2 games, or are you factoring in like Academy too?
No, I'm talking about just purely these 2 games.
Oh, okay.
I didn't watch enough of him in Academy to put my opinion out there.
Solo
has not been playing well at all. No, I
told people he wasn't that good when they brought him in. He was just better than Viper. I didn't think he was that good in those playoffs. I thought he was
an upgrade. Solo killed Broken Blade like 3 times, dude.
I mean, he was an upgrade, but it wasn't saying much considering how bad Viper was actually playing though. And now people are saying he wasn't really that good. He benefited from the situation he was given. And now we're seeing him for a full split with him, and he's not been that good. He had to renect. I mean, he played good. He didn't really play good in this game. Most of the team did it for him. And FlyQuest got destroyed by Cloud9, but they destroyed TSM. To be fair, FlyQuest had a pretty hard schedule this week. They faced TSM and Cloud9. That should be a decently hard schedule for them. And they got 1-1. So, I mean, the issue with TSM, you also have to factor in Doublelift has not been having the ideal split that even I thought he would have. I thought he would actually have a really good split so far. Returning to the narrative, he returns to TSM. He returns back to the old org he had so much success with before Liquid. He reunites with Bjergsen and Biofrost. You know what happens when you go back to an ex, guys? If you guys date girls or whatever you choose to date, you know what happens? If your problems are not resolved, those problems come up again. And the problems with Doublelift and Biofrost were never resolved. And the issue with them is that TSM style is not proactive. Now, they had an early game practice style with Dardoch, but Dardoch's play style with TSM last split, the 2020 spring split, was just not aligned with what they wanted to do. And they thought that Spica would be in alignment with what they wanted to do.
It's because they've had the same mindset for League for the past 7 years, and that's why they're not good. It's just what it is.
But the caliber of players, these caliber
players, if they don't have a good coaching staff, they don't have the right mindset for the game, they're never gonna be in good enough shape to where I think, man, they could just compete for this. They're not gonna be able to compete with Cloud9 because their thought process on League has been the same since they initially brought in Bjergsen, which is get an aggressive early game lead in the mid going, and then try and scale into the late game with kind of like, again, they've been playing a little bit more proactive in the early game, and they contest objectives, but they always have. Like they contest objectives, and that's the only time they become aggressive. Like there's not really ganks coming on. Sometimes they have TP plays, but like you really won't see too much coming out of TSM this split. When it comes to like,
so currently right now in the standings, they're 7-5. They're like third place. They're in third place, but are they really the third place team?
I'm probably. I mean, the first place right now, like
it's tied with Cloud9 and Team Liquid, but
Cloud9 and Team Liquid are tied right now. I mean, but I don't think that Team Liquid's even the second best team. Like I did think that.
I think they do. I think that they are the second best team, but they're still I would still say, even with the Cloud9 recent losses, that there's still a decent gap between how TL play and how C9 play. You can tell there's a clear difference between them.
I think with how the play style of the league is right now, and Team Liquid's actually like absence of a jungler, I think there really is kind of a poor situation where I think the top two teams, the top two teams after Cloud9, which is Team Liquid and TSM, are just not consistent enough to where I think they are the top two teams.
I mean, are they even on the level? See, this thing though, the standings are not indicative of how strong they are. Are they really second and third place material teams in terms of challenging Cloud9?
No one's saying anybody can challenge Cloud9. Cloud9 looks terrible right now. I'm not going to pretend that. Their drafting phase is abysmal. It seems like they're trying to pick stuff up, but it's not working out. Like, what even was that comp against Evil Geniuses? That was idiotic. Like,
I don't think the composition was bad.
The composition was bad.
As I watched the game over, because I watched it a few more times, because I watched the games again before we ever do a show. I think that the idea of the composition works, but Blabber didn't have that much of an early game impact as Lee Sin.
It was the actual problem was the fact that they picked a comp that doesn't scale well into team fighting against a team fighting comp that scales better than them. What's the point of picking Bard if you don't roam around the map to contest stuff? Like you didn't contest until Witch Herald like 17 minutes in. Like at that point in time, they need to pick like just a regular scaling support at that point and put the roaming the roaming priority more so on Niski than anybody else. Like that was the Bard choice was bad in my opinion. I think the only impact Bard has in team fights later on is his ability to land ults, and like that gets them either a decent engage off or the ability to contest an objectives, because after the meat changes, he just doesn't have the inbuilt damage with autos to be able to really contribute much. Like he has a 55% at this point in time. Usually by the mid game, he has a 45 to 55% slow. Mm-hmm. Like that's in an AoE, and that's pretty solid. But like that's not enough. That's not enough.
Okay, so let's analyze their composition. So C9 in this game against EG, I don't think they had I think they had a bad composition for what they were trying to, obviously attempt to do. But when you look at how they're playing in the early game with how Blabber, Niski, and how they consistently usually roam around the map, they're basically FPX light, if you guys want to put into a terminology. I think that Blabber didn't play as most people expect. Like they did early game proactive things, they just didn't keep the pace up. They didn't keep the pace up at all.
Like
I'm not saying they played well. I'm saying that they did what their composition was supposed to do early enough on, but they just stopped doing it.
They didn't have a good roaming mid laner. They literally put him on Syndra and he roamed anyways.
I don't know why they didn't put him on Galio though. If you're gonna pair up like Lee Sin and Set together,
at that point in time, if you pick Galio, you have more like. Again, I think if they pick Galio, they need more damage. I mean, not damage. They need to put what's it called? Vulcan on a different like ADC support too.
Maybe
Galio
Vulcan.
I didn't like if you're not going to roam with Bard, don't pick him. I do agree. Like Team Liquid is strong. They just need time to solve their problems in their team play. I think the problem is the fact that they're with their early game is so reliant on Core JJ when jungle has more leeway to be able to roam around the map. I do think Core JJ is the best player in the league right now. With the way he's been playing for these past week or two, I think he's the single best player right now. And that's what kind of makes me not want to put them out of the second best team. But Broxa, maybe it doesn't matter as much in LCS. Maybe the reason it's not going to matter is because no one can punish the lack of an early game aggressive jungler. But Broxa's not been playing enough, like making enough of an impact early on for me to say I'm okay with the way they've been playing. Like Core JJ is incredible right now, and Tactical's been playing really well too. I mean, I think he's playing better than Double Edge right now. But it's not to the point where I would say that I'm sold on their playstyle. I still think it's too inconsistent, and I don't think it's successful on the international stage.
I don't think it's like inconsistent. I think they're inconsistent at not being proactive the way that we know they could be proactive. Like the compositions they draft are proactive. They're just not being proactive outside of Core JJ. Like if they didn't have Core JJ and Jensen, I don't know what team they would look like. They would probably look as bad as Golden Guardians.
I mean, their playstyle just relies too much. Like he literally is the driving force behind their team. Like Core JJ is pretty much, again, I think he's the best player in the league right now. I don't think it's a competition as it stands right now. I think the way he's been playing, he's probably going to get MVP. Like unless
probably I would have him as I would probably have him as an MVP candidate.
I think
I probably would.
He's somebody I would vote for if he consistently plays for the rest of the season. If he plays the way he is right now, I'd vote for him. But that is not enough for me to say. Again, Team Liquid might succeed on NA. I think it's possible to succeed in NA because the kind of the pool of the junglers in NA is probably the worst out of all the major regions. There's not an actual star jungler in any of the teams. That's just the reality of it. There's no star junglers inside of NA, so it's really not a bad. It's not the most like punishing thing if you don't have a star like a decent jungler.
Well, against the 100 Thieves game that they played on Friday, 100 Thieves, I'll show you guys. It's more visually appealing to see what they're doing, so we can actually go over it. So in the 100 Thieves game, you have them picking compositions like this. I don't know why 100 Thieves would take the Jace. I get why you take the Jace because Sunday needs a carry, but like the issue with the 100 Thieves comp is all you have is Jace so far. Like I don't get why certain teams are picking early game and mixing it with late game. If you're gonna go late game, just go full late game. Why are you picking Jace? What does the Jace do? Because they're not gonna be able to push. Like you can get ahead, but their composition is not going to fully unlock the Jace. It just
I'm gonna point out right now. Someday has been popping off extremely hard on Jace. He's been doing really well when they've given him carry positions, and I think they've acknowledged that. At the very least, wasn't good for this comp. I agree with that, but it's a good start in the right direction to where 100 Thieves is identifying the strong suits of their team. So I was happy with it. Again, I don't think Jace works in every comp. It's just not a possibility.
Definitely not in this one. Oh no, this is not where you put a Jace at.
You can shut down Ornn and make him less like he's never going to be irrelevant because he gets 15% increased resistances. So you can't really shut him down as a tank, and he's always going to have that long range engage. But you can make him less tanky, and you can make yourself completely destroy him in terms of side lane impact. Like it makes moderate sense why they picked it. I still think like.
And what's the karma for? Just to speed him up? That sounds useless then. There's no point in picking karma.
It was essentially a comp revolving around two carries, a 1-3-1 comp, well, not a 1-3-1 comp, putting Jace in the bot lane, having a bunch of shields for Ashe and letting her carry with the ability to like if you put Ashe on a like once Ashe gets to late game with her long range ability and her ability to self heal, she has a lot of DPS with her Q. Like she's one of the highest DPS late games in terms of just single target DPS out of most of the ADCs. So I can see what their problem or their choice was. I think it was stupid. I don't think it was a good choice in terms of I agree.
I guess they're trying to give Someday comfort while they're trying to show him that, yeah, we still believe in you, that you can carry. But pairing Someday up with a composition like that is not going to show his strengths because if the Jace is not ahead and he can't do anything, and he wasn't even ahead, he was actually kind of more or less so going even. So I don't really understand the pick. I think if you're just going to go, if you're going to drop the team, why don't you just go full late game then? What's the Jace there for? It doesn't make any sense. I agree with that. Yeah. Oh my. Hi Ryan, how you doing, man?
Broxa literally really didn't do anything until the very last fight for the most part. He really, his lack of any sort of aggression right now. He has one of the lowest jungle He's one of the lowest ganking junglers out of all of them in the entire league. It's
yeah. So basically, for those guys who don't understand that, he's basically on average not really doing anything. In quotations.
The best in quotations too.
Well, no, because you have to do it from objectives. Like he is getting objectives and he is stealing, buffs and stuff. So he is doing something. He's getting dragons. So I mean, he's doing something. So I don't want to paint it like I don't want to paint it as like he's doing nothing, but essentially in terms of helping out his laners, he is doing nothing. Like he's not doing. Why is he on Graves then? There's no point in putting him on Graves if he's gonna. Why not just give him like Sejuani then? If he's gonna play like that, you might as well just play Sejuani. There's no point in having Graves.
I don't think Sejuani even functions well right now. I mean, they are planning on buffing her from my knowledge, but I just don't think she functions well in many aspects of the meta.
This is just not Brox's meta.
It is Brox. I mean, it's not the fact that it isn't Brox's meta. It's the fact that Broxa isn't playing well. Like he played a lot better in the previous seasons. Like I think he really like the previous iterations of Broxa would have been fine on this team. It's just he's not playing to that level. I've always thought of him more so as like a supplementary like jungler, which does actually function well. Like again, he got taken over a lot by Jankos. I mean, like in terms of just like impact around the map, but he was always able to still be like useful to his team, even if he was less like less relevant than Jankos for the most part. It doesn't like he should not be getting outclassed by Xmithy. Like there's no way.
He's supposed to be better than Xmithy. He was
definitely better than Xmithy.
He was the upgrade that they wanted.
If TSM had tactical, would they be better, the same, or worse? It seems like TSM's mid game has increased pretty significantly since they like brought in Double Lift. So I think like with the extra voice, the team would be like I think they would be worse because I do think what's his name? I think Double Lift is definitely contributing to the shot calling aspect of the team. They're still not good at the mid game, but at the very least, I think that. Like taking away the team because there's obviously two main shot callers on this team now. I think with the addition of Double Lift, I don't think Tactical would be able to fulfill that role, even though I do think he's playing better right now. So I would say they would. I think they would be worse.
I don't think they could unlock Tactical the same way. Like TL have basically unlocked Tactical to a certain point where that's who Tactical is. That's his playstyle. That's what I saw out of Academy. I think on TSM, because to be fair, guys, he was never on the TSM main roster. He was always on the Academy roster. And let's be honest here, do TSM really care about their Academy roster? Probably not. So, like, I just don't think that Tactical would function on TSM, because if Double Lift can't function on TSM after going back to them, I don't know how Tactical can. And then you also have another...
Double hasn't functioned. He's definitely had some good games. I think he's been one of the bigger portions of why they've been able to have success. Because, I mean, they're not winning. They're obviously not winning through Spica or Broken Blade right now. You got to contribute. I think it's mostly Bjergsen, but Double Lift is still the second best player on that team. I still think he's the second best player on that team. He's just not playing exactly to the point. Like, he's not playing much worse than Tactical, but recently in these past 2 to 3 weeks, I do think Tactical's been playing a little bit better. But, again, I don't think Double Lift is significantly worse than Tactical. And I do think he contributes more voice-wise than Tactical would, but that's just me expecting that. I don't know for a fact. I don't know if he's a shot caller or not. I just don't think he is.
So we're going to have to break down this for people. So C9 look finally beatable is what the first thing I was going to lead into this, which was that C9 have now lost 2 games. So if you're actually looking at it through how dominant they've been, this is the most games they've lost in regular splits all year long, which has been so far at the time of doing this live stream, this is 2. Just keep in mind that's how dominant they've been. They've only lost at most twice in these past 2 splits in terms of a regular season. And EG is the first team to beat them more than once, because it was 100 Thieves and TSM in the 2020 spring split. It was EG that did it twice this split. Now, or once this split and once last split. So C9, I don't know. It's not that I'm like worried. It's more like there might be 2 things happening. I think that they are playing down to their competition, but they are definitely having a problem with Blabber. If Blabber's not a jungler who can play from behind, and he doesn't even know how to function if he's not in the driver's seat. If Blabber is your passenger, he just kind of just doesn't do anything, and that's the problem with the team. Like being FPX and trying to emulate FPX is good and all, but the issue here is that FPX are super reliant on mid jungle synergy, and they're obviously the best mid jungle duo in the league. But if that's not ahead for them, you can clearly see how they don't really have the idea of playing from behind. Like, they can't play through Sven and Vulcan because they get also unlocked by Blabber too. They're lane dominant, but they're not lane dominant. Smash everyone, take them over. You know, they're beating down the turret themselves. They do it with Blabber's help. All of them are helped by Blabber except for Licorice. That's why I say FPS, because obviously Khan is not helped up by TN, but Khan is amazing. So, well, not right now because FPS kind of suck, but, you know, That's how it is so far. So I don't think it's that bad. I just think that they're playing down their competition because before the losses, they were literally stomping everyone still. So that gives you an indicator they are playing down. Like they're not, they know they can smurf on North America. Based how we've seen most of the year so far.
I mean, I'm not sold. Again, Cloud9 has a composite, like they have a really good reactionary play style that I think is actually benefiting them a lot. I think if you look at their Evil Geniuses, the game, their first idea was let's go gank top and try and get a gank, just try and get a kill off of on Huni, and they almost lost 2-0. It was incredible how poorly they played that dive. They built a comp that wasn't topside heavy in terms of gank roaming. Syndra does have the ability to does have the ability to push in jungler mid laners and
shove in the mid laner.
Yeah,
the priority to roam. Yeah,
early game because she has AoE and she has the ability to kind of group up all the minions so she can always hit them consistently with her ball. But at the same time, she doesn't really provide anything past her kind of slightly long ranged her stun. Usually she's able to get a stun off and then that, but they didn't really have the comp.
You win a lot of the skirmishes with Syndra and Lee Sin. Lee Sin kick.
Not in the turrets. You win them in turret. There was a turret dive. What are you talking about? They didn't skirmish at all. First of all, Syndra is decent at skirmishing. I agree. But she's not able to go toe to toe with everybody in those. She's able to outlane them in an open field where there's more room for her enemies to roam around. She's not as significant. She does have a lot of weaknesses because most of her abilities are moderately long cooldowns. So essentially, once she uses that first EW, she's only spamming Qs at you. And again, it's still a significant amount of damage. But with how difficult it is to kind of hit that, and with how much more room they're going to have to be able to engage on you, I don't think she's as impactful in terms of just river fights in comparison to lane fights. But again, she can push you off, and she has the ability to fall back to her turret immediately, so you can't react to what she does. She has moderately long-ranged abilities. But it was a really they hesitated on the turret dive, so they were able to get the full channel to TP through. On top of the fact that Lee Sin took 2 tower shots before it even went through, so they had to back off at that point. They were running and they got killed. And Huni played it terrible. He flashed in thinking he can get a kill, which was idiotic. But it was a really poorly done TP play by Cloud9 right there. Again, I think that if you're gonna play a comp that's reliant on roaming around the map, take the roaming capability character because. Away from the support because he's not going to be your idea is to contest the top side. Obviously, with going Gangplank versus Set, I think you want to try and contest top side so he's going to get the ability because he's going to consistently get shoved in. That's what Gangplank does. If you understand that concept, you're supposed to play a better comp oriented around being able to punish that. But instead, they put most of the roaming capability on an Ashe arrow on top of the fact of a Bard.
You're engaged as Ashe arrow.
Yeah, but Ashe wasn't 6 by the time this happened, and Bard, he can't make it to top lane in that time.
Yeah.
So they really they wasted their pick on that, and they really never tried to make stuff happen in the bot lane, which kind of limited how much impact Bard Ashe can actually have utility-wise. Bard did end up going to the Rift Herald towards the mid part of the game, but again, they didn't really take advantage of Bard's early roaming capabilities for the most part. They didn't really try and contest jungle, either contest vision in the bot side, they didn't contest camps, and they didn't try and make anything happen on the mid laner. For the most, again, I do think Cloud9 still had the superior objective control, but if you're not getting those roams off early game and getting a significant lead, you're going to get beat because you drafted the worst team fighting team just by far. Alistar has
and they also gave Zazel Alistar, which is his best playmaking champion.
I agree with that. And it's significantly better at team fighting than Bard is. Bard has his ult, and it really has it's one of the most volatile ults in the game. It has the ability to change the
course of a team fight.
Course of a team fight completely, but it was never utilized properly. I didn't like the way Bard was used that game. Is the world's performance of the West in question? No more clear top teams. I think Mad Lions looks pretty good, actually. I think, like, if we're talking about pure mechanics, Mad Lions is probably the best mechanical team in the West by far right now. I think they're incredible. I think that the only team that I would have put up against them in the past 3 years is last year's G2. Everybody else, they've been pretty much a better version of, in my opinion.
You don't think Rogue is that good either?
I don't think Rogue is there mechanically as good as them. No, and it's not even just like when they get a lead, like they know how to push objectives and then start trying to close out the game from there. That's not something I see a lot of teams do. I don't think they're better than Last Split's G2, even though I don't think that's the best version of G2. But I do think they are better than, at the very least, competitive with Last Split's Fnatic. I do think they might be a little bit better than Last. I wouldn't say that. Again, Blippo was playing incredible last split, and I think that Arome didn't really prove himself to me on that Jax pick he had. I wasn't too impressed with it. But again, I think right now as it stands, there's only one team that I would be kind of really convinced that they could do moderately okay at Worlds, and that's Mad Lions. Everybody else is kind of a toss-up for me. I'm not even sure who's going to go to Worlds right now besides Cloud9.
Yeah, I mean, if we're factoring in North America, are other two teams potentially going, even if they play online? Oof, man, they're gonna have it rough. These teams, I don't even know what to think about these guys. It's really hard to say. If I have to predict 3 teams to go, be Cloud9, probably Team Liquid is going based off of how they're playing. The third team is basically just a free team to get wins off of. Let's be honest here. If TSM go, there's no faith in them. I have no faith they'll even do well. I
have more faith in Team Liquid than I have TSM right now. I'm sorry.
I mean, they're both in the same boat. I mean, I wouldn't have any faith in TSM. I definitely have faith in Team Liquid. I mean, I would have more faith in Team Liquid though. I would, because they've shown they're competent at what they want to at least attempt to do. TSM is just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. That's bad.
I don't agree. I think they're such a completely one-dimensional playstyle in Team Liquid that they're literally so reliant on Core JJ carrying the game. They literally rely on him on his early game aggression. They rely on him to be the main source of engage for the most part. He does everything for them. If they stifle what he can do in the bot lane, Team Liquid's done, and there's nothing they can do. I don't think they're as much as I think they're better at that one play style than TSM is at anything. I don't think they'll do as well at Worlds, because
I think they would though for one thing, which would be some teams that in the LEC, the good teams right now hyper focus on one style, and they're good
one
at
style,
that.
but not one player. That's a completely different situation.
But at least they have an identity that they know how to play through. TSM doesn't have anything.
It's literally their identity revolves around what style Core JJ is playing at that day. No one is playing as well as him right now. He pretty much takes the significant chunk of how they're playing the game. Again, you start ganking the bot side on Team Liquid before they can actually get stuff going around the map and shut him down a little bit. They're done. They can't do anything. You do that to TSM, they still have the ability to do something with Bjergsen and Broken Blade if he comes back from the grave. Maybe. I
mean, maybe you have those things. Those are
it's just they don't ever play. They don't play one style comps. Again, I agree with that on Core JJ, but whether EDG or Fly, if they get third place, I don't believe that FlyQuest is competent enough to get third place anymore. I don't, even with the addition of Wild Turtle, I'm not sold on them as a team. I mean, they could get third place, but I mean, thinking about it right now, I mean, their best shot is hoping that Power of Evil can carry the rest of their sorry team. They don't have solo.
Or Ignar comes back somehow and decides to play good again.
Ignar's been horrible. Ignar has been terrible recently. Last split, he was only good on Rakan, and then he had a few good games on Thresh. But now he just doesn't have anything. He's just not playing well on anything right now. I think I don't want to see them at Worlds at all.
If we're sending 3 teams, we're gonna send Cloud9, Tail, and TSM. That's pretty much.
It's Cloud9 for sure. Team Liquid, as they're playing right now, are probably not going to lose to anybody in NA. I think they're gonna make it.
And then I guess the third team is a toss-up because, I mean, rightfully so. FlyQuest did beat TSM last split in playoffs, so I mean, you could say they could beat them in a best of 5.
I don't think their play style that is kind of volatile in terms of just not able to. Again, the FlyQuest for the most part lost all the early game objectives and lost the early game in terms of just play, and the TSM kind of just let them scale up after that. I don't think that's a problem this TSM iteration has. They're not going to be as aggressive early game. but they're not going to just sit there and let them scale. They will attempt to do something at the very least. That's not something I could say for the enemy to like TSM. You know, TSM, I do think they attempted to do stuff. It was just always dumb stuff. Like sometimes just not doing anything is better than what TSM did last play. They literally 6-man dive at tier 1 at like 30 minutes, and they'd be taking an inhibitor. That's what I hated about TSM is like they did make plays, and they were just always terrible ones. Like that's not something you're gonna see out of there's TSM at the very least. I do think they're smarter around the map. But
congratulations, you played yourself.
I do think they have like the ability. They're going to be punished a lot more in the early game.
They got punished this week by FlyQuest in the early game when Spica tried to early game invade.
Yeah,
it literally happened to FlyQuest of all people. If FlyQuest can understand what Spica's doing to invade, then I mean, like other teams can definitely see what they're doing. Like they're not doing anything special. And Bjergsen, like he can carry them. I'm not saying he can't, but they don't really. It's clear that like they have a disconnect by what they want to do on their team. Spica's going for a Rift Herald. Broken Blade is still kind of like farming. And then he comes over, but it's too late because the enemy jungler comes up and then he kills Spica. Bjergsen roams too late. The bot lane is just kind of on their own, farming, doing whatever they want to do. It's just not really something that's super, how would I say this? They're not even being. They're attempting to be proactive, but it is amounting to nothing in terms of what they want to do overall. I think EG, FlyQuest, or TSM could be hard punished at World play-ins like CG last year. Oh, they are. That's not even a question. Oh, they are. That 4th place EU team is going to get really, really punished.
I think the 3rd place team in NA is going to be a lot worse off. Like I think. Like, there's just not. I honestly don't even. I'm not convinced the 2nd team, if they were in play-ins, would make it out. Like, I'm not sold on anybody but Cloud9 right now, and even Cloud9's looking a bit shaky. But I think that's just because they're trying out new comps. They're trying out unique kind of stuff right now, which is like, for the most part, I'm not gonna say that it's a bad idea. I'm not really upset with how TSM's playing right. Cloud9's playing right now because again, I don't think that is something they're gonna be doing at Worlds and stuff. What I do like, if I want to point out things I'm kind of moderately happy about in NA, I think that IMT's changes, for the most part, were incredibly good. I think they made good choices in bringing in players that weren't very good. Getting rid of some of the more problematic players and making good choices in the academy and bringing up the right players. Alorum might be the single best weak side, 2nd best. I can't put him above 2nd or 3rd best because Impact is good at weak side and Licorice. For the most part, he's one of the best weak side top laners in the league right now. He's playing incredibly well with the little amount of resources they're funneling into him. And I think that's something that you don't get to really see out of a rookie too often. That's not something
Insanity's been playing good too. Insanity's been playing good. They made these changes too late. Imagine if this was the team they started with.
They could still make it to playoffs. They're a game out. They're one game out of the playoffs.
Imagine if they had this team starting instead of Soaz and Aika and Potluck.
The problem is that there was never a problem with Soaz, but it just wasn't good enough.
Yeah. Okay, so last question tonight, guys, is Fnatic went 2-0, EU returns, and Fnatic's wins. Like the scoreboard shows you 2-0, and that's not gonna lie. But these games were pitiful. These games were bad.
I think you can be happy with stuff out of this game as a Fnatic fan. Actually,
nobody won these games. We all lost.
I think that with the way Fnatic played that, with their ability, like with Nemesis playing significantly more, better, more.
It's 2 games. I'm not gonna say anything right yet.
You should always make assumptions based off the previous 2 games are the ones that should have the most impact on your mind.
But we just forget about the other ones though.
What's up?
We just forget about the other games he played bad though. I can't do that yet.
You can definitely do that and say, wow, he resorted back to himself later on. But the previous 2 games, that's 2 games in a row, I think he played well. You're literally just too infatuated with the previous aspects of his previous games, and you can't, you have to accept that he played really well these past 2 games. In Nemesis has made drastic improvements these past 2 games. I think that it's really something they should be happy about. I mean, again, they didn't play well around the map, and they lost for the most part.
They didn't play well. They lost all the team fights. They threw Barons consistently. Like, that's not good. Like, I'm just saying, like,
that all didn't happen. They didn't lose many team fights. The problem is they lost a lot of skirmishes completely.
They did throw Barons. That's what I know. I saw that. They did throw them. Yeah, because I'll show you. Actually, I'll show you guys who didn't watch. This is unacceptable. This is just pure unacceptable. I don't even know how they won this. How did they win these games? As I look more back at these games, they played atrocious. But their opposition is just that much worse, and that
you don't think
mind-blowing.
Fnatic in general as a team played poorly, but I think individually a few of the players played a little bit better than they were playing consistently. Hylissang is still inconsistent. I mean, Whippo's still terrible, but Humanoid, Reckless, and Selfmade are all. I mean, not Humanoid. Nemesis, Selfmade, and Reckless are all playing well right now. I mean, I think that's something you should be happy at the very least, because that's not something you could have said.
I'm not gonna say Nemesis is playing well. I'm gonna say Selfmade and Reckless are, but
you don't have to say anything. I'll say it for myself then. Like, Nemesis has played well these past 2 games, and I think that is a good sign for the future, because once he starts playing better, you can build comp centralized around him and have a lot more. What's it called? A lot more versatility, because as it stands right now, they had to consistently build comps that were either really unique, like with Soraka Bot and stuff, because they didn't have a comp in general that they could play with their terrible players, or you have to play somebody who you have to force your team into comps that are centralized only around bot lane. It's something that you really don't want to have to see.
What is the point of 50-50ing this Baron right now? I don't even see the point of doing this.
What? And
this is so bad. Hill is saying, "Oh, look, this is just purely unacceptable." Like this is my opinion. They won this game because Vitality is just that much worse than them. How do you get
really a 50-50 Baron? They just didn't have Hylissang properly cutting them off.
Cabostar was playing good though. I like Cabo. He was playing pretty good.
I don't think Hylissang properly cut off the rest of the team. I think they really Hylissang just played terrible against Vitality. That's the reality.
He's always going in no matter what.
It's crazy to me that he can be so good on Thresh, but so bad on Nautilus.
Who's playing
Nautilus is an easier version of Thresh. Like, he just is. He's tankier. He has a bigger shield, and he has a bit damage to get himself out. Like, again, Thresh doesn't have to fully go in, but that's something I guess you could say about Thresh. But for the most part, it doesn't make sense why he's so bad at Nautilus in comparison to Thresh. Like, their playstyles are the same, and Nautilus is innately tankier.
Okay, I know you want to say they played good, but in this Misfits game, they were losing this whole game.
I didn't say they played good. I said that Nemesis played better. That's something you can be happy about as a team. Like, that is the only thing that I don't have a problem with, is better play by a player that was playing improperly the previous splits.
What's so funny? Misfits dominated them both games this split in the early game, and then just lost. Imagine if this is a best of 5. They probably lose to Misfits in these best of 5s. They got dominated both games they played. First game, you can say, hey, was the first game jitters of the split? This game they got dominated in the early game. They got purely dominated. It was just more like Fnatic's composition just outscales theirs, and that's just how it is.
I think the big reason as to why they won early game was because they picked a comp. Like, again, Kha'Zix actually can't duel counter against very well. Like, you're not able to win counter against his Kha'Zix because he just doesn't have the ability to get either isolation, and he doesn't really have any CC or innate actual significant sustain damage. Like, that's just not something Kha'Zix has.
Like, are these throws even legal? How do you win this hard early on and then you're the one losing? This makes almost no sense. The thing with Misfits is they don't keep up the pressure. You can't just get ahead and do nothing. Why do teams do that? Why do they know they're ahead, do nothing, and then say, yeah, we knew we're ahead, but we didn't?
I disagree. I think that Misfits literally thought they could win more often. They contested things, and they tried to dive towers that they shouldn't have, and that ended up being the reason as to why they lost. Misfits genuinely, again, they kept up the pressure in some ways, but they also literally, again, they started has a DOS problem. That's a good way to put it. I mean, I think that the big problem with Misfits is the fact that they just don't know how to, what's it called? They don't know how to.
They don't know how to close out.
They don't know how to properly know what they're capable of doing. They always contest things, everything. They contest things. They dive too fast. I feel like like at the beginning of the split, they were too slow paced. They didn't know how to close out. I agree with that. This recency, I think they've been literally diving for no reason and all that stuff, and they've been trying to contest dragons that didn't need to be shoved in, didn't need to be done that quickly. Like if you look at their top side gank or like towards the mid game, like there was absolutely no reason they had to dive that. They had the ability to push them off just by what's his name existing, but instead they consistently pushed up on them and tried to get a pick instead. And I think that's the big problem Misfits has. They have inconsistent shot calling on that team, and that's what's been the main problem with their team. Putting Jack Troll now somehow look better with Jack.
We just talked about this in this truck when we go.
I don't know if it looks significantly better. I mean, I think
he gives them proactivity.
I think Alfari's just been playing insanely well this specific week. He played incredible. Like Alfari's the best top laner in the league right now. Like it probably maybe in both leagues, maybe in just the entire West. Honestly,
I think that coming into this week, a lot of Origin fans were like, "Why do we have Jack Troll?" You know, you made a, your fans are disappointed in you when you're on Twitter and you announce Jack Troll, and you know what they actually did? They didn't even flame them. You know what they did? Guess, you guys. Just guess what they did. You know what they did? All the fans put question marks. They were. Imagine being that disappointed. Just imagine that. Imagine being that disappointed where they don't even question what you're doing. Your fans are just giving you question marks.
Success is something. I don't think their wins have been attributed to Jack Troll. I don't want to give him that credit. I don't think he's been the significant. Alfari has been playing out of his mind, and that's been, again, they're slightly more aggressive in the early game. Not even really. Like I really don't think he's been the contributing reason. Maybe he has a higher, like a more commanding.
He's an early game voice that can contribute to certain things.
I don't know that. I haven't heard that anywhere. I don't know why I would think that. I just he hasn't been in those situations to where I think, man, this is the guy that's leading the charge, because he's not been in a lot of, like, what's been selling this team for me recently is Alfari has been put on a lot of carry picks and he's been carrying the game. That's just what's this last week is why this happened. Like, I don't want to give too much credit to Jack Troll. I don't think he's a good support, and I don't think he's the ultimate reason why they're winning these games, but he has obviously been an upgrade over Destiny. I do want to say that. It's definitely obviously the case, but he's not making Alfari's the same place like Kawish. I think, that's exactly what I was thinking. He's actually the best.
It's funny though. It's funny. Like, we had Cableshard as our MVP for the string split.
Was the best top laner last season. I think Alfari is this split season. But Alfari's on a significantly better team. That's the situation though. That's
the worst thing though, is that he has a better team than any team Cableshard's probably ever had. I don't know.
I think
it's hard to say. It's hard to say, though, because, like, Origin's issues were proactivity. If Jack Troll provides any proactivity, it's going to be anything better than Destiny. But Destiny wasn't even their worst player, though. They just don't want to. They don't want to bench their star players. That's what they don't. They don't have to admit it. I know what they're. I know they don't want to bench the star players, though, because
what star player are you specifically talking about?
Star players in Nuke Duck, Upset, Alfari. They don't want to bench those guys, so they use Destiny as a scapegoat. Because we know Nuke Duck and Upset have not been playing that good. Everyone can see that, but they don't want to bench the star players, though. That's just what they just don't want to do that, though. I don't know if they don't have anybody in their academy team that could be better. I mean, we don't know that because, their EU Masters team, I haven't watched EU Masters in a while, but they haven't been that good. Nuke Duck has not been that good. His Orianas look like trash. Everything he plays look like trash now. I don't know what's going on with him. His Orianas suck. His Gallios suck. He just kind of sucks right now. When I see this guy playing Oriana and he's just only speeding up his Aphelios on Oriana without providing pretty much anything. He plays TF, okay, but it's not just something that's super, super impactful. Like, when I look at a player like, who's good right now? Humanoid. When Humanoid has Oriana, he's going to win you the game. When Nitsky's on Oriana, he makes an early game impact. When you have even players like Jensen with Oriana, he's making an early game impact. Origin just does not have that in their players. Their players just want to play Season 5 style. And, you know what? I just remembered yesterday about Origin. Remember Gilioto?
What about him?
Gilioto and Nuke Duck were on Schalke in 2018, remember? Now they're on Origin in 2019 and 2020. You see a pattern there? Consistent, scaling late games playstyles around Nuke Duck. It's been Gilioto and Nuke Duck since 2018 together, playing it's no coincidence that both of those teams have the same playstyle that Schalke had back in 2018 when they had Vander, Upset, and
they had that
style
back in 2018 because they had Upset, not because of Nuke Duck.
I mean, but the same style happens here now with Nuke Duck and Upset on Origin.
It's because of Upset.
I'm just saying, like,
you can
that's
just say whatever you want, but it's not because of Nuke Duck, the style.
Gilioto was with Upset too, so
it's only with Upset that the reason, like, it literally is the exact opposite of Nuke Duck's place. If anything, they're dragging along Nuke Duck to a style that doesn't suit him. Like, it's the exact opposite of a successful, like comp that would work for Nuke Duck. The problem with Nuke Duck, the reason why they succeeded so well, in my opinion, is the Orianna again. It's one of his better picks. I still think his Orianna is one of the picks that I think he's played more often than not. But then they put him on the Lucian mid, which I think he really thrives on. He does play really well on those early game aggressive mid laners, and I think that's something they weren't doing as often as from what I remember. And that's again, I don't think Jack Troll is a tribute. I'm not giving him contribution. I'm not making him as to the reason why this team turned around. I don't think he is. I do think Origin is going to lose their next game, but I'm not the next game. Sorry. What game is it? They're going to lose the game after that. They're going to lose the game.
You know what's really funny? Origin 2-0 G2 to split.
Okay. I mean,
it's the first time Origins did that in, I think, forever, honestly. They've never exactly 2-0 G2. So it shows you how much G2 is lacking. We'll talk about G2 in just a moment as we wrap up the show. Xerxes looks bad in OG right now, but he has never had any priority lanes drafted to work around. See, that's the thing, but Xerxes is a forgiving jungler. He kind of just... I don't know. Like, I don't even think if he had priority, he'd do anything, though. Like, looking at how they play in Origin, they just want to play scaling and draft, and they want to play scaling and they're basically Team Liquid of last year for North America. That's kind of who they are, and that's not a playstyle that's going to be successful internationally. Like, if you talk to the LEC fans, they don't want Origin going. Why would you want Origin at any Worlds? They're going to get like literally trounced on. Like, I mean,
the reason it doesn't work is because they don't have the players. They're playing a style that only suits one of their players. Like, Alfari can work in any comp. I think he's better in 1-3-1 comps, which are actually scaling comps, so it's okay. Teamfight scaling. Teamfight obviously scales better, but if you have a good 1-3-1 comp, you kind of counteract that. Nuke Duck is not a scaling mid laner. He literally is aggressive early and falls off mid game, and that's always been his thing. You got to say something?
It's not nothing else. I guess it's Gilioto is not real. I mean, Gilioto can only do so much. They do have a drafting problem, but I think that they get the priority comps that they want. They're just never able to win with them, which is like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But G2, last team to talk about tonight is G2. G2, they lost both games this week. They look bad. Look pretty bad. I love G2. I love G2 just as much as I love Cloud9. But G2 look even worse than Cloud9, and that's saying something.
They played well against Mad Lions. I don't want to give them too little credit. I think they played fine against
They could have won that game. They could have won that game, actually.
Mad Lions outplayed them mechanically, and that's what it was. In every single
Perks got caught out.
Caps got straight up outplayed by Humanoid, and that was the big problem. Like, there's so many things happening in that game than Perks. I mean, yeah, Perks is just not as good on ADCs as Pinoy is, sadly. I mean, it's not just – I think Perks gives a lot in terms of just voice to the team, but Perks also, again, is not the greatest ADC player on the planet. He doesn't contribute as much as a normal ADC would, but that's not the reason you have Perks on the team. He's smarter on the map for the most part, and he has better mechanics in most other aspects, but specifically on ADCs, he has not looked incredible. I think my biggest problem with G2 right now is the fact that they are playing like they're playing. The
Malphite just got too far ahead. The Malphite just got too far ahead this game. Giving Malphite 2 kills like that means he's gonna one shot everybody.
Are you talking about the Origin game?
Yeah, giving Malphite 2. You got ahead, and then that's it. Malphite can one shot all your carries.
Alfari played both sides of this matchup this week. He played Malphite into Kennen, and then Kennen into Malphite the next game.
Yeah,
and he won both of them. So you can't really attribute it to like the matchup, because this is actually not a positive in terms of
Perks
to Kennen. Kennen actually wins this matchup, but somehow he didn't. Um, yeah, I don't get it.
Oh my god! And then they draft Kog'Maw for Caps, and like I don't know why he's on that. Why is he on that? I don't know why he's on that. That's a shitty mid lane pick. Why is Caps on Kog'Maw? That is the shitty mid lane pick. I don't like the Kog'Maw mid. I never liked it mid. It's not G2 style to even play a Kog'Maw mid. You know,
scaling poke comps are not bad. AP Kog'Maw might be one of the better mid lane. I mean, one of the better poking champions right now in the mid lane after the buffs. But I still don't like him because he's so immobile, and you don't pick somebody immobile into a Malphite, especially somebody who's not able to itemize into Azonias off the bat. Like it was a dumb pick. They drafted a mobile carry against Malphite. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like. It was that and Ashe. Both of them have no ability to stop the Malphite from getting on top of them.
Also, him getting 2 kills early on. Him getting 2 kills early on set the tone for how the game went. Him getting that far ahead is just like literally I can ult and kill you in one shot. And they have no mid laner to provide any CC consistently or damage per minute enough to the point where they can obviously like stop him. And Jankos is trying really hard. Like he's playing pretty well, but. So would you say G2 will get into playoffs though?
Yeah, I mean they're significantly in a decent place to get into it. I mean, again, I don't think they're going to be playing this poorly for the rest of the split.
Well, yeah,
I just think that was just a bad week for them because they had Origin on a pretty high upside right now. They were on a good. This was one of their best weeks, and then they had to play Mad Lions, who I think has been probably the best team
Ryan.
by far.
Why drafted a mobile carry against Malphite? If you see Malphite, why do you pick Kog'Maw? What is the point of that? That is literally inting in draft. Like, if anybody can tell me how that's not inting in draft, you see Malphite and you pick Kog'Maw, that's pure inting in draft. That is like, I can't defend grabs. I like grabs, but that's just bad. That's pitiful. There's no way I'm defending that. Like, come on, you know? Yeah, like, because the G2 and Fnatic do have better players by default. They have better players than all the bottom tier teams, so they'll probably get in the playoffs, but imagine.
I don't know.
I mean, they have,
Misfits are only 1 game out of 3rd place.
Yikes, and they're also inconsistent.
Misfits is tied for 6th place right now. Like, they're tied with G2 right now.
G2 faces, I'm pretty sure G2, let me look up who they face this week. G2 will face, last thing before you guys, we got to head out, because tomorrow on my main channel, I'm going to be doing a special live stream with someone. So if you guys are watching, then please come check it out. If you guys are watching this video as a VOD later on, the streams are all just left up for the series. Just like the video, because it'll get more recommended after you watch other big league content creators. That's all I ask of you. So, the games this G2 will face. Let me go to LEC. G2 face Schalke, so free win, right? Hopefully, right? Hopefully. Please don't lose. Please.
Fnatic.
Please don't lose to Schalke. Holy crap! And they face Rogue, so they have a relative. They should have a free. So that win they get against Schalke might be able to give them a much needed confidence boost. It might. I mean, I'm not saying it would, but getting a win definitely maybe fixes your mentality. Then they have to face Rogue, and right now Rogue is the 2nd best team right now in the LEC. A team G2 also beat early on in the split. It's weird though. They beat the best 2 teams earlier on in the split though. So, you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I hope they'll bounce back. You know, you guys know I'm a fan of my 2 teams, but I'm gonna call it like I see it. If they're playing bad, I just call it like it is. G2 will lose to Schalke like Fnatic. Don't tell me that. Please, Nick. Nick, have mercy on my soul. If they lose to Schalke, I'm crying. Oh my god. Could you really see them losing to Schalke like Fnatic did? With Gilius just massively popping off?
I mean, could you see G2 losing to Misfits?
Probably.
What happened to G2? That's just what it is, man. I mean, there's not really much to say. I think they're obviously, as it stands right now, mechanically outclassed by Mad. So I'm not surprised. But again, they didn't play terribly against Mad. They just completely got like beat down in team fights because they
botched team fights. Yeah, botched team fights. People getting caught out.
Misfits, I don't understand. They were just getting outpaced. Alfari took over the game against them, and then they just
against Origin. Oh, you said Misfits Origin.
So stupid. I said Misfits. Sorry. And then Why
I
did
mean,
say
giving
Misfits? I was even saying Origin's team.
I think they play Misfits the following week. They play Misfits the following week. I
Four
think
players that matter still in their first year, and they are this strong. The best.
that's
they have
promising, actually. That's promising.
their best players on the team, I think, are Shadow and Kaiser. I think those are the two best players on the team by far. They're two.
Oh, you're okay. So you're thinking a week ahead. After this week, for week 6 for them, they're gonna play Fnatic and Misfits. That's gonna be a tough week too. That is a tough week.
They're gonna beat Misfits.
Ooh.
They're gonna beat Misfits, but I don't think I'm not sure they're gonna beat Fnatic. I'm not 100% sold on them yet.
I'm pretty sure they'll just beat each other because they're both playing like trash. I mean, Mad made a lot of improvements. I'm really proud of them. They kind of are a one play style team to a certain extent, but at least they're focusing on that, and that's getting them some wins. So now they can try to work on other things. So yeah, that's pretty much it for tonight, guys. I gotta head to bed. I gotta record one more video for my main channel, then I'm heading to bed. Thank you guys for showing up.
YouTube plays Vitality in Misfits.
Wait, really? Hold on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Vitality. No, Origin plays Vitality in YouTube.
Oh, did I mess up? What did you
That's what he just said. No, they play Schalke. Who said that? It's Schalke and Misfits, not Vitality's Origin.
Hold on. Okay, so we got to this week. They lost to Mad Lions. Okay, they face. Okay, so this week coming up, they face Schalke, and then they face Rogue. They face Rogue. After that, they play Vitality, and then they play Fnatic.
You're 2 weeks ahead now. You're throwing me off, Nick.
Yeah, so they'll play Misfits toward week 8. Actually, they play Misfits in week 8. So, I mean, I don't know. Right now, looking at let's look at their up and coming games. So they have Schalke, right? So you're pretty much saying free win, right? Hopefully, and then they face Rogue. That's gonna be a tough week. Then you also have them playing up against Vitality and Fnatic. Vitality almost beat Fnatic too, so that's even looking like a maybe. Like, all these games are not for sure games. Like, usually you'll pick G2 versus the field. Then after Vitality and Fnatic, they face Misfits, and then they'll play up against SK Gaming.
G2 versus XL could be the decider if G2 makes playoffs or not. I mean, I don't know if that's the case.
I mean, they beat XL. They beat them early on.
They have a lot of leeway to lose a few games because of the fact that there's just so many teams in a 1-game gap. Like, G2 is literally only a game out of third place. They're a game out of not being out of playoffs. There's just, and that's like the top 3 through 8 or 9 teams are 1 game away from each other. It's just,
oh my god!
It's just
reminds me of that split with when Momentum was on Roadcat, and every single team was basically like 9-9 going into playoffs because they would all just beat each other, and everyone just goes like 1-1 every single week.
Back in form. Ballon doesn't have a form. Ballon was never in form before. Yeah, Balong is good. I think they're playing a lot better with him.
Yeah, Balan, he's been better.
I mean, the fact that they're able to beat Victory 5 is a good showing from them. But
people meme Victory 5, but Victory 5 look good. So
I mean, they just beat the undefeated team. They're in second place right now. Like, they're no one memes them anymore if they actually.
Thanks to Rookie. I mean, they're only in second because of Rookie. Rookie literally.
This is Rookie literally.
Okay.
Yeah, they're opposite team. Invictus Gaming is in like 5th place right now, I think.
Because didn't Top Esports almost lose to Victory to Vici?
No, I don't think they almost lost to them though.
Because game 1 was pretty convincing. Game 1 was really convincing.
Even the top 10th with Unicorns of Love was 8-8. Yeah, I mean that's the good thing about like EU. You have a lot of leeway to lose 1 or 2 games because like you're not going to drop to. What's it called? You're not going to drop to 10th place. Schalke's only won 1 game. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I'm really sold. Like, no, I'm not saying that Balog is a pretty solid player. No, I think he was a good choice to put in above Southwind.
Oh my lord, Southwind's fucking horrible. Never put that guy. I don't want to see any more of that guy.
I don't.
He sucks, dude. Come on,
he sucks. True.
He sucks. Especially for the playstyle that they're trying to actually do. He's bad.
I don't even understand. Like, Southwind
I think he's bad.
That's because you're stupid.
I mean, I'm a
Southwind
genius.
was one of the better players in the previous split, but I don't think he's playing it very well now. TS knew how to play macro.
Yeah, because they were losing to Vici, but to be fair, their players are way better. And then you also factor in if they start playing macro, they're the best team in the world right now.
Many objectives though, that's the problem. Like they just lost team fights and lost a few dragons off of it, but they never lost control of the game, from my knowledge. They always felt like they were ahead. But,
for you guys who are watching, we watch all the regions. So like when people say they do watch a region, I asked somebody who is IG's top laner. They said it was someone else. I was like, all right, you were full of shit. Not yet actually. I haven't got a chance to. I am catching up on a lot of stuff right now. So yeah, I did not forget about Unicorns of Love because you wanted us to talk about their games. So I'll watch a few of their games. Didn't they play the other day ago? They played against Vega Squadron. That's why I got the memory. Whoo! I knew they played against Vega Squadron, and by the end of the game, I saw a clip of it, and they got wrecked. Vega Squadron got just obliterated. I was like, that is unfair. They're that good, and in the CP in terms of what they're in Russia. They're in Russia now, so But yeah, dude, people can't even tell you who's T1 support or who is their jungler. Like people don't know what they're talking about. I asked them, what is Dragon X's playstyle? They play around deft. No. It's not a playstyle. What do they do in the game? They're like, like people don't watch. Like I know what I can gauge a good reason about how all these teams play. For China, it's very hard to kind of see like where they're all at because it's all these Chinese teams are like really really hard to judge. Like FPX looks. What happened? A lot of the FPX fans are like, just play Gimgoon. That's not gonna work. What are you talking about? Do you think playing Gimgoon would really make them that much better right now? They've been losing to everybody.
I mean, I don't know what their problem is, honestly. They're just not significant. They're not playing as well in the early game as they should be, and they just don't have mechanically good players to be able to.
They got figured out. Is what you're saying?
Later on down the line, that's just what it is. Like they are a team that's like kind of they do lack the mechanical skill most teams have, but they make up for it in the ability to play around the map fast, like in a pretty fast-paced way. LWX has never been good, in my opinion. I don't agree with I never thought he was.
That was the World's 2019 over.
Like he got pretty much funneled by a really.
Oh, it's Abigail. Oh yeah. Oh, that's Abigail. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because Abigail knows a lot about. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, who's this?
It's something that he was funneled into a pretty significant playstyle that benefited him. But I never thought that LWX was incredible. They didn't drop her. Like they looked really good by the end of the. By like the beginning of this split, I think they looked like that in Rift Rivals. I think they looked really good. They had their. To me, it just feels like they had their 5 minutes of fame, and then they're kind of just like yesterday's news. Like they're not a bad team, but I think people gave them so much undeserved praise because they just I don't know. They watched one final, and I guess that was like the indicative of like who they were, but it wasn't that. It's just like they've always been this way, and I think they got figured out. And then you factor in they never had the best players anyway, though. Joy B is not the best player in his role. And in China, that's definitely going to get exploited because they have literally some of the best players on the planet, even on their worst teams. I mean, it didn't get exploited last yeay when he was one of the best. The problem with it,
different metas. That's more of a meta thing, honestly.
It's a play style. I mean, this specific meta is more reliant on the bot lane right now. I think doing B and all that stuff, their play style still kind of works, but the person you have to funnel the gold into is the worst player on their team right now. Like LWX wasn't good last split. I think the KDA kind of throws people off, but I don't.
How is Suning 8-3? Oh yeah, they are 8-3.
Don't talk trash about Suning. We won't be having that. You already know that.
Their games are not clean whatsoever. It's literally
they're one of the most objective focused teams in the league. I love Suning.
All their games are sloppy. Come on.
It's not
outside of SOFM, if they don't have SOFM, they're not a good team.
SOFM has been my favorite player in the world for the past 6 seasons. I don't want to hear you talk trash because he finally has a good team around him.
He finally has a good team after 8 years.
SOFM has really, really slowed down the pace of his game. I'm kind of like he's never been like objective, like gank focused, but he's not as counter jungling focused, and he's more so getting around the map to an objective more so anything. And it seems like that was what made them succeed in the first 4 games. Like they smashed most of the games without him even getting ganks off. I mean, I really think their play style is not something I would like slouch on. I don't think it's incredibly good, and I think it can get punished by a lot of extremely fast-paced teams. But it's not something I've seen. They don't.
Oh yeah, they played against RNG.
lacking
Yeah, I
in it.
remember this game. Yeah, I remember this. I remember this game. Yeah, I woke up to watch. Guys, these games broadcast so late when I'm going to bed. I watch them and then I pass out. Like it's not because they're boring. It's just more like it
I
looks
love
like.
so much.
Yeah, Lord. Yeah, I think WE is also not that bad either. People gave them some undeserved slack because I think Morgan's pretty good. But that's just me.
I think Morgan was getting completely dumpstered by a lot of top laners at the beginning of the split. Like those first few games he had
were really suspect.
Well, it wasn't really suspect, but like, okay, so what I had a problem with Victor 5 at the beginning of the split, it's not Morgan anymore. I'm gonna swap over. It's because he actually was dumpstering Morgan towards the beginning half of the split, and then he'd make really poor choices in like either running into he was a foot like an inch away from just completely throwing his lead because he's over chasing a lot of kills. Like I think that's a big problem I have with the top laners in LPL. They're the most impactful role for the most part in a lot of their roles, but they also don't have the intelligence to not over chase for a lot. Like it's been inconsistent from a lot of them. They're just kind of mechanics oriented. I just want to see a game of Victory 5 from China and Victory 3 from Japan. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think this game.
And if that did happen, then the China team probably wins in 10 minutes.
I don't know, man.
Good Lord. Angel's not a bad mid laner. He's definitely playing pretty good. Swordart is playing better.
Angel's been incredible. Swordart, a problem I had with him last split was that he was just his champion pool was too small. Like he played. All he played was
Morgana and like Nautilus. That's all he played, really.
I mean, everybody only plays Nautilus in China. I don't know why. That's like the most. It's like Bard and Nautilus. They're like just something.
Well,
like,
Nautilus is a hotly contested pick, and
Mole is incredible. Mole actually, first of all, Mole against top esports when they were playing, he actually completely was outplaying Knight for a little bit. I mean, not for a very long time, but he was doing it for a pretty consistent amount. And then against Rookie, I think what was it? Who was he playing that first game? He was playing.
Oh fuck! I can't remember the name.
It was him versus Rookie. He was playing. Was
Oriana? Oriana
the second game.
Yeah.
Not the second game, and he completely he was able to get a really good flash backwards onto Rookie. I think Mole was the best choice for keeping on this. He's played really well for this team. Mole is the best Zoe. Oh yeah, it was Zoe. It was actually Zoe the first game. Mole is probably the most impressive. I don't know if I just didn't see it. I actually thought he was trash last split, but I guess I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't watch enough.
What was the thing with last split? Everyone's trash, and now they're finally just playing better.
They only kept Mole. They replaced everybody else with rookies. But my big thing, wait,
hold on. For what team?
Last split.
Oh, for Victory 5. Yeah. Okay, now I remember. Yeah. They're
the only player that stayed on that team. They completely swapped out everybody. PP God was a backup for FPX.
E-Star, now they got all new players, kind of.
I mean, they don't matter still, but...
Why don't RNG play the fucking mid laner they got from E-Star? What's his name? What's his name, though? Cryin. He's so good. Cryin is so good. Cryin is insanely mechanically good. You want to win a championship nowadays, you play Cryin. Why do you play Xiaohu? He's not... Xiaohu's not bad, but he's not good with how, League has turned out to be. I guess... some splits he's considered MVP, but it's that was back when you could play a different style of mid lane. The reason why RNG loses games because Xiaohu's not going to be that type of player like Cryin, someone like Angel, someone like Icon. Even Icon is better than Xiaohu on some days. Icon is on OMG and OMG stink. I don't know why I watch all these dog shit Chinese teams, but that's because I have no life.
I should Cryin, I agree. I mean, I think that's one of my problems with
They're listening to Suning. They're listening to Suning of all people. Come on.
Don't say that. Why do you keep saying these things like that? I don't even understand. A lot of teams are losing to Suning right now.
Something just click with them. You'd factor in SOFM and Swordart. Swordart and SOFM have the same mind of playing the game. It just finally clicked that they know how to play together.
That is Rich. Rich has been incredible, Reese. I really like that. I really like the way he's been playing recently. He's been
Rich is good. Best.
He's on what is that team called?
Dynamics.
Team Dynamics, and he's been
with
playing
Kuzan.
Yeah, he's the best player on that team probably.
Okay. So, someone actually asked me earlier on today, what about the LCK? Like, why don't I do like LCK weekly breakdowns? Because that's a lot of videos to do. Usually for the LCK, I usually like to do a full split breakdown when the week 9 is over. So, like, if you see a episode with just talking about the LCK, that's kind of what I would do. I'll do a full video or maybe a stream where it's just full LCK from week 1 all the way to week 9. The reason why I don't add in other teams is because or the regions, because it's too many videos. It's not that the views wouldn't be there. It's just that that's too much videos. I already do enough. I want to add in more. Damwon, Dragon X, and Genji in T1. I think Genji looked better. T1 have been regressing ever since they lost to Team Dynamics. I don't know why. Damwon looks way better. Damwon improved on a lot. Dragon X is super volatile. Like, they only draft, they do draft for, Chovy gets whatever he wants, and Def gets to decide how they want to play. That's not I guess
I don't think it's a bad playstyle, actually, because you can't really ban it out. This is a playstyle that you can't ban out, and you can't just gank one lane to make it not function.
But Yosik and Doran still suck, though. That's the problem.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, I think Yosik and Doran are terrible.
Yosik and Doran are the best top side in Korea.
Doran was getting hyped up last year, dude. Doran was the next big thing, and it was like he's gonna be
the next wonder.
He's gonna be the next Roach. That's what they. And then he didn't even.
No one wants to be Roach. No one wants to be Roach. Roach is garbage.
You can't trash talk him.
Lord. Damwon, I think Dragon X is not their first place team. Like, Dragon X's playstyle is so volatile. Like, if Chovy's not on, like, LeBlanc, Galio, or Zoe, they don't have an early game. And to make sure, like, I'm getting this correct, usually, what's the guy's support? Piri? I'm Piri. I don't say Piri. Oh, my God. Kiria. If Kiria's not on a early game proactive support, their team just is like, all the games they've lost, they've had compositions where it's scaling and they've just gotten dumpster. There's a KT roster with Smeb playing support. What the fuck is that? That's unacceptable as a first place team to lose to that. And then there was the one game where there's one of this Korean team, they drafted all 5 winning lanes and lost. I was like, good God. Good holy God. Save me, please. What purgatory are we in where you can draft 5 winning? What purgatory are we in where you can draft 5 winning lanes and lose? Oh, Lord. I need a drink after that.
I think my big thing about it is I don't think I've seen, like, they've only lost 1 game this split. That's the big thing about
if you watch the games, it's not really like first place dominant material.
Dragon X lost that game wasn't like he was on an early game aggressive pick. Kiria was like he lost both games on Nautilus. Like it's incredible that he just, again, I think the big problem with it is CV Max bad drafts. I don't disagree with that. I mean, it's obviously not.
His drafts are very questionable. I'll admit that.
It's not been in their best situation. Like their drafting phase is pretty one-dimensional, but at the same time, I think
I can't fault them for that because they do draft for their players, though. Like
they have a good enough team to where it doesn't matter. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, I think Piosik and Dorn really like. I don't get the concept behind putting Piosik on Lee Sin. I guess it's kind of a basic jungler at this point. It's not complicated. But I don't think I like him on when he's not playing Trundle. I think that he's even worse than usual.
Why did you give this guy Lee Sin? I was like,
Lee Sin's
okay.
actually not that complicated in comparison. Like, most junglers can play him to a basic extent. You don't have to do flash insects to make him a useful character. You kind of you just take advantage of his passive and you're able to win most duels.
No, it just blows my mind that this is the best topside duo in LCK at the moment.
It's not the best topside duo.
I know, but by the standings, that's what most people would actually believe, though.
No one would believe that. Piosik getting better. I don't disagree that he's getting better. I still think he's still like the 6th best jungler in the LCK. I mean, if we're talking about anything, if he came over to NA, he might be the 2nd best jungler. Like,
he had a good game on his Echo. He played good on the Echo, though. We had the Echo jungle, and Doran was on the Camille. So,
I don't really think there's a competition right now for Chovy and Knight. I think Knight and Chovy are by far, and actually Mole is might be the 2nd best. I think I would put Mole in that category too. I think those are the top 3 mid laners right now in the world, and I think It'd probably go right now. It'd go Knight, then Mole, and then Chovy for me.
The sandbox Yamato cannon run to the top. Honestly, dude, I'm being completely honest with you, man. I've watched very few sandbox games because they all are atrocious. I cannot take watching them anymore. Summit is... I still think Summit is great, man. But, dude, their games are bad. I don't know what Yamato Cannon is doing to them. Their games stink. Their games stink really bad. I'd rather watch some Soul Prince games. At least they're attempting to do anything. Like, sandbox games suck.
Are you saying that... Were you re-ranking them, or were you just... I didn't know if you were trying to say Knight. Summit is good. I mean, Summit's always good, though.
Summit's good. I like Summit.
No one's ever questioned Summit's capabilities. I think him... It was one of the reasons why I think Crush, who played pretty well at the beginning of last year, was not able to ever play, is because...
Whatever happened to On Fleek? On Fleek, he's not a tank player. I think On Fleek is only good at early game aggressive junglers. He's not a flexible jungler where it comes to playing like a tank jungler. We have to play with your team. Like, you're not the center focus of making all the proactive moves. But I'm sorry, man. I can't watch these sandbox games. These things are death watching these things. Because, like, watching the games is Gorilla... Gorilla's not even bad. It's just like their team is just so uninspiring to watch. Like, they have good players. Like, the caliber of players they have should not be reflective of this bad gameplay I've watched. It's just, man. But guys, I do gotta get to bed. Thank you to everyone who's actually watched. Just make sure you like the video if you're watching this as a VOD. Thank you to everyone who showed up. We watch all the regions, obviously. But when Korea is over, I will do a full video or live stream based off Korea. China, that's a little hard to do. It's a little hard to do, but it's an attempt to do. But yes, see you guys later. See you next week. This is every single Monday, Rift Insight, and that's it. See you guys later. Have a good day. And I got my LEC Week 5 thoughts and opinions coming out very, very soon. If any other news comes out, then I'm going to be doing that. Do you want to say anything before we close out?
Yeah.
Plug your Twitch or anything?
I don't have anything to plug, unfortunately.
Do you have any social medias for the ladies?
No, I have a Facebook I made 17 years ago that I never use.
Oh, I forgot to tell you this.
What?
So, Grace Randolph got an interview with Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder confirmed his Justice League is not canon.
I know. It's obvious.
It got confirmed today. And he said
canon. It's not possible.
There's no way that shitty universe is canon. I would not have even believed it was canon, even if like he said it was. That's just yikes. But now, you know what's the good thing? They can use Flashpoint to erase all that.
Oh yeah?
I mean, why would you not?
It's like what Marvel does with PIM particles. They kind of just throw them in there every time something gets confusing. They're like, oh yeah, it's because of PIM particles that happened. I hate that. It's my least favorite cop-out.
But see you guys later. Have a good day. And I am signing out. Peace. Nightwing all day, every day. And I'm out, guys. I'm going to outro you guys out with this.
Go,